Good evening, Patriots. Dan Dubois, Canadian Combat Coalition C3, National President. Just had to share a little observation, little discussion that we actually had this afternoon with some of the guys at work. I'm always on the job, guys. I'm always talking to people, trying to convince them and wake them up as to what's going on in Canada. So, just an observation that I've been noticing and that many have noticed that we were speaking about this afternoon is that these big, huge corporations, such as Amazon, for instance, these companies are so huge that they are actually making smaller retailers close their doors. These smaller retailers, whether you realize it or not, are the tax base that actually help the economy. These stores are the stores that are paying taxes, major portions of the tax money, and that's what supports this country. Now, companies like Amazon, and I want you to think about this next time you decide to order something through Amazon instead of going to a retailer. Amazon is so big that they've found ways to not pay taxes. They're becoming ultra rich, and they found loopholes to take their money off of the continent, out of Canada, and hiding these funds. So the government is losing a tax base day by day as retailers have to close their doors, unable to compete with big corporations like Google and Amazon and what have you. We're losing a tax base, and our government, instead of taxing and finding ways of taxing these ultra-rich companies and people, well, they're going to put the burden on you. They're going to put the burden on the average Canadian who's already suffering and trying to make ends meet. How do you like those gas prices, for instance? How do you like that carbon tax? Something that shouldn't be imposed on Canadians because we probably have the smallest footprint of emissions in the world. If anything, Canada and our forests help rectify the pollution on the planet. But our government, losing a tax base, such as retailers, don't care, and they're going to put the burden on me and you. Why? Because these big companies, such as Amazon, are paying these elitists and are paying our government officials. That's what's going on. So Trudeau, instead of figuring ways, and the Liberal government, instead of figuring ways to tax these ultra-rich companies that are actually closing smaller companies that founded this country, they're taking payoffs. How do you think they get elected, for one thing? It needs millions. You need millions of dollars to get elected. So these government officials and MPs and what have you are taking money out of these big corporations and then affording them tax loopholes so that they're not paying any taxes. So they're destroying the tax base in Canada. They're getting super rich and not paying any taxes. Is that fair? And the burden to support this great nation falls on the average man. That's not fair. Now, if you were the government, instead of listening to your entire citizenship cry and whine and pray and what have you to have a better life because they can't make ends meet, wouldn't you rather tax these ultra-rich, say a billionaire, $1 billion? I would tax this guy or these corporations half of that money. Ooh, they're left with $500 million to exist. I rather listen to one guy cry that I just took away half of his wealth and left him more than sufficient funds for the rest of his life and probably his family. I rather listen to that guy cry than to make my whole nation suffer. But these elitists and these government officials are paid by these corporations. And instead of taxing these corporations and instead of trying to get the funds necessary to keep the government going and keep this great nation going, they put the burden on me and you, the little guy. These ultra-rich people don't even work for a living. It's us that supports these people. They're on yachts and they're all over the world enjoying themselves while we work like dogs to keep them in this way of life. So just some food for thought that it's come time in Canada for patriots to stand up to this government and figure out a better way. And a better way would be to tax the ultra rich and take away some of their funds, and they would still remain wealthy. I mean, a billionaire. You've got to be a glutton to need that kind of money to exist. Gluttony is not something that, it's not a nice quality, put it this way. But yet we seem to give a pass to the gluttony of the ultra-rich and the corporation owners. And if anything, I've seen rich people at restaurants not have to pay because they're rich. And their money intimidates the poor man and these poor restaurant owners. So because they want this rich person to keep coming to their restaurant, they get a free meal. Well, the typical Canadian will never get a free meal. You have to stand up for your rights. You have to stand up for your freedom. And if you don't, this country will go down the tubes. And it's very well on its way. Trudeau has burdened us that if you're 19 years old, you'll be 56 by the time the debt is paid, if it's done diligently and it doesn't even grow bigger. So with that message, I'm thinking that you should stand up for your rights and your freedoms and join us July 14th and 15th on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. We need the numbers to send a clear message to these politicians that Canadians are uniting, Canadians are standing up, and that we're not going to take it anymore. So I'm hoping that I see you there. Many patriots will be there. We've got confirmation of many people. It's probably going to be the biggest event of the year, and it needs to be done. So I hope to see you there, July 14th and 15th on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, as C3 hosts Canadians for Canada rally. All Canadians welcome, all dialects, all faiths, all immigration, all immigrants, legal immigrants I'd like to see, and not these border jumpers. But if you love Canada, it's time to stand up and do something about it, or you will lose your country. Your kids will suffer. Your grandchildren will suffer. So I hope to see you again July 14th and 15th on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. We're looking at getting some land for camping, and we're also, there's a park that we're in contact with, the Wesley Clover Park in Ottawa. They've got many sites available, so maybe book a site, maybe kill two birds at one stone, and come visit the nation's capital, Ottawa. Many of you have not seen the nation's capital, and this would afford a great opportunity for you to do the right thing for fellow Canadians, to support your fellow patriots, and it would be a great step forward in uniting Canadians to stand up against this most corrupt government that is now leading Canada. more than 50% of your wages are going towards supporting this country via taxes. Yet the ultra-rich multi-millionaires pay a fraction of that. They found loopholes to not pay taxes. It's time for people that make the most money to help support the country and take the burden off the little guy's back. That's what politicians should be doing. Amazon, multi-billionaires, they should be paying taxes for bringing their services to this country. I'm not saying they're not needed, but I'm saying that they should pay their fair share of taxes. So with that said, I wish you all a great night, and I hope to see you on Capitol Hill. Thank you.